So I'm just going to give a quick read through, and I'll highlight words that I think maybe you don't know. Did you think the vocabulary was difficult, Haruto?
Yeah, some vocabulary is difficult.
Some of the vocabulary is difficult? Okay, so let's check it out. So the theme is government and justice, and the topic is the American legal system. Could you find it? Okay, so can you look on with, yeah, look there, or we'll look on with Hana? Okay. Okie doke. So I'm going to wait for people to get settled so we're not shuffling papers because this is going to be a video. Are we all set? Sit nice and quietly. Okay. The grand jury is an important part of the American legal system. The grand jury is composed of private citizens who are appointed to serve for a designated period of time. Grand juries which hold meetings in private serve one of two functions, charging or investigatory. A grand jury that is serving a charging function listens to evidence presented by the prosecutor and decides whether or not the prosecution has adequate evidence to charge a suspect with a crime. If the grand jury feels that there is adequate evidence, then it issues an indictment. And the suspect must then proceed with a trial. A grand jury that is serving an investigatory function investigates cases of suspected dishonesty, often by public officials. The primary reason for the existence of the grand jury is that it is supposed to ensure that citizens are not subject to unfair prosecution under the grand jury system. Oh, that's a funny misspelling. I believe it's supposed to be prosecutors. Prosecutors must first convince an unbiased group of citizens that there is justification for the charges that they want to bring. However, the grand jury system has come under attack from numerous directions. Grand juries are routinely criticized for being too slow and too costly. The grand jury system really means that there are two trials. The grand jury hearing to decide whether or not there should be a trial, and then the actual trial itself. Another criticism of the grand jury results from the fact that the meetings are held in private. The grand jury is not open to public scrutiny and therefore not publicly responsible for its actions, and this has cast doubt on some of its findings. A final common criticism of the grand jury is that the evidence it hears is one-sided, from the perspective of the prosecution, so that the grand jury serves as the right arm of the prosecution rather than as a defender of the rights of a suspect. Interesting. Any words that are particularly difficult for you, Naoki? Do you know what appointed means? Appointed is often used as a that's appointment. Appointment. But it's kind of, it's interesting that you said that because an appointment is a set time that that people make. To appoint someone, which it can also be called an appointment. When you appoint someone, it is an appointment, but it's not making a plan to go to the movies. It's actually choosing someone for a role or job. It's often used as opposed to elected. Like if in this class we say, okay, let's have a class president. Everyone please put a piece of paper secretly in this box. Do you want Kaho or do you want Hanaho? Do you want Kaho or Hanaho? Both of their names end in ho. So both, which one do you want to choose? Kaho or Hanaho? But if, I'm silly this morning, I need more caffeine. If, on the other hand, I say I'm going to choose a class leader, and the class leader is Haruto, that is appointing. That means I appoint. Someone in charge, someone in a position of power decides. Whereas election, everyone together decides. Do you understand? So there are citizens who are appointed. There's no election, just the government chooses. And designated means a set period of time. A set period of time. So this class is designated from 9:30 till 11 on Mondays and Wednesdays. It's not we can have class when we feel like having class. Let's have class at dinner time. Let's have class at Gusto. No, there's a designated time and space. Any other words that were interesting or difficult? So indictment in the case of this article means it's an official it's official decision by the grand jury that this person, there's enough evidence about this person that maybe they did the crime. Or the public official who's having an investigatory grand jury, there's enough information to warrant or to make us believe that if we go to trial, there's a chance they might be found guilty. Indictment. We use it in another way too when someone says or does something that really casts a shadow or makes someone look negative or makes a situation look negative. For example, in Japan now, is the Japanese government dealing with the coronavirus in a good way or a bad way? What do you think, Haruto?
Maybe actually it's
Too late, yeah. So, in fact, your statement there is, in a way, an indictment of the Japanese government's handling of the coronavirus. It is a showing of evidence that that they did something wrong. If you write an article that is very critical, it could be called an indictment of something. It's not an official indictment, like from a grand jury, like, because Haruto said this, we are now going to go investigate the government. It's a lesser kind of indictment, but we still use it as a kind of show of evidence of something negative that has happened. How about bias? What is bias? What does it mean to be biased or unbiased? Not fair. How so?
he's black or he's white.
Ah, yes, that would be racial bias. Yeah, yeah. Where you treat someone differently because of something. Yeah. So if someone says Japan is number one, Japan is always right, you could say that person has a pro-Japanese bias. Right. One of my favorite professors when I was in graduate school, he liked to talk about bias a lot, and he said everyone has bias, and you must look deeply in yourself and try to understand what your own bias is. And he said, never trust anyone who says they're unbiased, because it means either they haven't looked at themselves carefully or they're a liar, in his opinion. So he used to shout in class. He was a very interesting guy. And he would say, announce your biases, announce your biases. So like, for example, I really don't trust the Republican Party in America. So I have a bias against it. So if I hear news from them, my first intuition, my first idea is that they're probably lying or trying to do something tricky. But it's important that you know that, because sometimes it might be completely true what they're saying. So you cannot be completely free of bias, because we are raised in a certain situation and we have a mind and we tend to lean in one direction or another. So we should always pay attention to our biases and try to be as unbiased as possible. That's the goal. How about Hana? What does scrutiny mean?
Structure.
No? I don't know. I'm so interested. What word do you think? What sounds like scrutiny, which might mean structure? Scaffolding or something.
Insection.
One more time?
Insection.
How do you spell it?
Looking.
But looking in a very, very intense way. I think I made a joke before. If you cannot, it means you can read something or understand something. Or you're trying to. If you give something scrutiny, you look at it carefully to understand it. Huh? VOTE? No, not vote. No, it means really to study. So like when Trump was being impeached, bless you, Haruto. When Trump was being impeached, he was being scrutinized. To subject something to scrutiny means to just look at it very carefully and not trust things automatically, but try to understand it. Someone I knew once said, when I wear dark glasses, my face is inscrutable, meaning you cannot read it. People could not tell what my emotions were, especially if I have beard and I'm wearing a hat and I have dark glasses on. You cannot tell easily if I'm happy or if I'm looking at you or what is going on. Any other words? George, anything you see that you think might be of interest to them? A prosecutor, so in a court case, there are two sides. There's the prosecution, They work for the government. They are trying to prove you guilty. They are trying to put you in jail or charge you money or punish you and prove that you've done something wrong. Whereas the defense, which is supposed to protect the individuals against prosecution, that is one of the strong arguments against a grand jury, is that it really only shows the side of the prosecution. You cannot bring a defense into it.
Just one word, I guess.
What's that one?
Charging.
Charging. Okay. And what did you want to say about it?
I just want to ask what people think it means.
What do you think charging means? Do you want to ask anyone in particular?
Anybody's fine.
Anybody. What does charging mean? It has a few meanings. It can mean running towards something. The football player is charging towards the goal. The bull is charging towards the matador. That's one. Yeah. It can also mean not paying cash. Like if you use your credit card all the time, you can say you're charging too much. But this is a legal definition. So Japan is kind of interesting in this way, and it kind of is frightening in a way because the police can arrest you and hold you for quite a long time without charging you, without saying you've done a crime. In America, even though the police have many problems, violence, bias, guns, things like that, there are rules that they only have, I think, 24 hours that they can hold you without charging you, without saying, okay, Haruto, I think you're a chocolate thief. Daijoubu? You okay? Oh, okay. He was just charging at the door like he was going to come crashing in. But in Japan, I think they can hold you for some days without ever officially demanding, without officially accusing you of something. So in this case, it's like an official accusing of something. But it has legal consequences. Like if you're charged, that means that they've begun the process of punishing you or putting you in jail. Do you understand? You'll see it many times. Does anyone watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Netflix? I got really into Brooklyn Nine-Nine when I started having to watch The Good Place. But like they'll arrest someone and say, you're charged with theft. You're charged with murder. You're charged with something. It means an official, they do paperwork to say you've done a bad thing.